have you ever felt as good about Jonathan Kuminga as we once did about Jordan Poole when he was here at the Warriors?
The Kuminga experience falls well short of the Jordan Poole experience in terms of how I felt the highest of highs. Not that I ever thought he was going to be some Hall of Famer, but boy, it felt like he was like the next one up.
Love it. I want you to reiterate that question you had about Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, the question was simply, have you ever felt as good about Jonathan Kuminga as we once did about Jordan Poole when he was here at the Warriors? Because, he had some incredible times. I think one of the best you could have ever felt about him was that first-round series against Denver when Steph was coming off the bench after the injury, and he was such an integral part of that, series win. It was a 5-game series win, right? Yep. It was just, how could you not feel super high about Jordan Poole and the Warriors' future with Jordan Poole after that run? Like, have you ever felt that high with Jonathan Kuminga at any point?
That's a great question.
For me, I think it's just the Kuminga's experience falls well short of the Jordan Poole experience in terms of how I felt at the highest of highs. Not that I ever thought he was going to be some Hall of Famer, because the other three, Draymond, Clay, Steph, they're all Hall of Famers, right? But boy, it felt like he was like the next one up, right? Like at some point he would take the mantle, and at minimum, he was going to be like the fountain of youth to sustain their run, or at least let it go a little longer. Right. And the runway would go, I don't know, a couple of years farther than it did. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think they win the championship, the last one, without him. I think that's pretty clear. I think it's pretty obvious. And I thought that if they were ever going to win a fifth, he would have been a big part of that too. Maybe even one of the starring roles.
Yeah. I just think he's had a lot more runway than Kuminga ever had.
I agree.
Jordan Poole started a lot of games. He played a lot of minutes. He handled the ball a lot. We're learning about Kuminga. Now, we've gotten glimpses, right? We've gotten sample sizes last season. We saw from January to the end of the year, wow, Kuminga could be a really good player. But I don't think he was ever empowered the way Jordan Poole was within this offense, where Jordan Poole was tasked with running a half-court offense, bringing the ball up the floor, creating for others, running a patented split action, taking jumpers. He's taking over 17, 18 shots a game. He's scoring. The ball is in his hands, and he's getting to the free throw line. And we forget that Jordan Poole had beat out Stephen Curry as the best free throw shooter that season. He had a higher percentage than Stephen Curry from the free throw line. So, Jordan Poole, I think the answer is, in my opinion, is that everybody felt better about Jordan Poole at his high water mark than we ever have about Jonathan Kuminga.
You bring up how, the Warriors empowered him early on, Bonte. Is that, mainly just a product of the fact of the situation that Jordan Poole walked into when he did arrive here? He came in during that lost season where everyone was injured. The season after that, it was, the play-in year the expectations were kind of so.
And he went down to the G League.
Yeah.
He had to go down to the G League. People forget. He bounced up and down from the G League. His rookie year, going to those games, Jordan Poole was not an NBA player.
We did the post-game shows, me, Cove, and Bonte. The amount of calls we would take where it was like, he's positionless, he doesn't know what he's doing. Shot selection, I think, was that was like the buzzword everyone would call. Remember? It was bad. Kai Bowman was beating him off the floor.
I was going to those games, dude, and he was shooting like in the 20s from the three-point line. It was atrocious. It was some bad basketball. Huh?
What was he shooting?
He was like shooting 20. Like, you look at his splits his rookie year, he was shooting like 20%. But he went down to the G League, and he got a little better before the season ended. I remember looking at it and saying, okay, he's getting a little bit better. And then the next season, he gets off to another rough start. He goes out to the G League bubble in Orlando, and he comes back right before the All-Star game in a game against the Phoenix Suns on the road. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, Jordan Poole looks all right. Scored double figures, started pushing the ball up the floor, and then the rest is history. By the end of the play-in game against Memphis at Chase Center, he was the one taking shots at the end of the game. The Lakers game when they lost at Crypto.com Arena, it was Jordan Poole in the corner. It was Jordan Poole in the corner who took that three under a minute left and had a great look, but he had the cojones to take that shot. I thought, this guy, okay, he's not afraid of the moment.
And remember, in that game, Bonte, he tried to dunk on LeBron.
Yes.
They didn't get I think he got the foul call there, but he almost dunked on LeBron. That was like, wow, okay, he's here for this.
His confidence was ascending. He was starting to become a confident young player.
Yeah, he ripped those corner threes. God, that Memphis game, now that you bring it up, they threw the kitchen sink at Ja defensively. They tried everything. He destroyed them.
No doubt. And
Grayson Allen.
No doubt he did.
Right, Grayson Allen.
But that year, though, helped Jordan Poole because
he did have a point.
You think about the pandemic and the officials with the Golden State Warriors They were saying Jordan Poole will not leave the gym. Jordan Poole is living in the gym. So he dedicated himself to the game. And J.K. does the same thing. J.K. works on his craft all the time. You got to lock him out the gym. Same thing with Jordan Poole. He was in that gym. He slept in that gym. He wanted to get his game right. And he helped you win the championship. And I remember just when they did win the championship, Jordan Poole looking at Stephen Curry, asking him how to pop a champagne bottle. How do I do this? And Steph, the wily veteran that he is, in the midst of a celebration, is like, hold on, this is what you do. You wrap it up like this, you point it like this, and then pop, boom. And then you got a champagne shower again in the Boston locker room at TD Garden. And so it is kind of sad how we forget all that. We forget the pool parties. But to Lumpman's question, I think everybody felt a lot better about Poole at the height of his powers than we ever have about Jonathan Kuminga. And that's not an indictment on Jonathan Kuminga. It's just the fact that we saw a lot more of Jordan Poole early on, and we saw that he could become a 20-point-per-game scorer in this league. We're still trying to figure out who Jonathan Kuminga is. I think I know who he is. I think he's a damn good player. But for whatever reason, he hasn't gotten the consistent minutes that Jordan Poole did receive in his years with the Golden State Warriors.
I also think about what the, what does the eyeball see, right? And I think defense, block shots at the rim, you can see, right? But most defense, you can't tell when a guy gets into a passing lane and a guy doesn't get the ball thrown to him because of great anticipation as a defensive player, or point of attack defense and communication and switching and help defense and all the little subtleties. Defense is hard to quantify. So offense is much more palpable to the eyeball, and it garners way more buzz online. Wouldn't you agree? Like, shaking a guy out on the perimeter is going to get millions of views.
Right.
Whereas hedging on a screen is not. And so I think the things that Jordan Poole did as well, it was at a higher clip in terms of the offense, but it was also more intoxicating from just the basic fan point of view. You know, when you score and you're shooting from the perimeter and you're crossing people over and you're, daggering threes before the end of quarters and stuff like that, those things are really exciting.
No doubt. They are.
Defense isn't as exciting for the common fan.
But defense is needed, right?
No question.
You need point of attack defense, which destroyed the Warriors the past couple seasons.
But Kuminga plays good defense at times,
right?
And I think that it gets undervalued and underappreciated.
No doubt. They want to see dunks. They want to see scores. They want to see shots. 888-957-9570 is the number. Shameless shout-outs coming up at 7:45. Shameless shout-outs at 7:45. You can shout out the Odyssey Holiday Party. The Odyssey Holiday Party, which happened a couple weeks after the holidays. But we still got it in.
It's called the hangover party because, it's the hangover from the holiday.
It's the hangover from the holiday.
Clever.
Food was good.
Maybe you should shout out Jonathan Kuminga.
Jonathan Kuminga. Let's throw Guy Sanchez in there.
Hey, Guy Santos playing some good basketball right now, man. Even Steve Curry said he's a big part of everything right now.
Iggy's energy right from the start. Would we go up 12-0 or 11-0 or something? Yeah, he's just a big part of all that. The defense, the switching, the rebounding, the ball movement. He just makes really good basketball plays. He has a good understanding of the game, and that makes other people better.
Makes other people better. As Jordan Poole will come to town tomorrow night, Guy Sanchez will get a lot more run, no doubt. But I'm looking at this text, and 510 is right. Jordan Poole filled seats. He was electric, brought the second most excitement to the team. Chase Center loved him. Chase Center did love him. Chase Center did love him. The pool parties it was unbelievable. I mean, I was wearing we were doing pool parties on the set. NBC Sports Bay Area is like, wow, Jordan Poole can't get enough of them.
I used to come in the very next day and talk to you in the morning, and I'd be like, dude, the guy is intoxicating on television. He makes very few players in the league make you lean forward and like, oh, my God, where's this going? He was one of those guys.
He was such a likable kid, too. I love the kid.
He had a great smile.
He had some, if you want to say, hey, there's a lot of egos, well, guess what? There's always a lot of egos in an NFL locker room, NBA locker room, and a baseball clubhouse.
I'll take you to any job site in America, and I'll show you a bunch of egos.
Bunch of egos. So,
come on. What are we talking about?
The fact is, well, you brought up the crossover, Willard Dibbs and Grady, and I wasn't aware of it. A lot of people
feel that way.
But they were saying, you had to move on because of the egos. Well, there's always egos.
Of course.
So you don't think there was egos in this? Kevin Durant walked into this building, and Clay said, I'm not sacrificing bleep for KD. I'm getting my shots up. And you know what? Clay led the team in shots per game that season. So egos come into play. It's pro sports. Money's on the line. Of course there's egos.
Well, I always think about management in any profession. Like I came from the world of sales, and managing the egos is more treacherous of the job when you're a sales manager than managing their balance sheet or their profit margin sheet or anything like that. Like, no, it's the egos and everyone, running into each other in terms of who's the greatest. It happens everywhere you go. Trust me, my little brother's a plumber. The stories I've heard on job sites, the egos of the electricians versus the plumbers, the carpenters versus, the sheetrockers or whatever.
Everywhere.
Like, it's all over the place.
All over the place. Egos are everywhere.
So imagine what it is when hundreds of millions of dollars are on the line.
Right.
And playing time's on the line.
Exactly.
And shot selection's on the line.
And that's not the reason why he was traded. It's not the reason why he was traded. 888-957-9570. Shameless shout-outs coming up. Plus, we'll get to divisional round football. You know what? Let's do that right now.
I think Jordan Poole is a fascinating case study in psyche of the Warriors. I think there are a lot of people that on the day he was traded were like, get this guy off my team for X, Y, and Z reasons.
Okay.
I think that he represents, as an avatar, things that are unfair for him to represent.
Okay.
The youth, the young guard, this weird, like, he's too arrogant. You know what I mean?
So
like,
that's that. I'm trying to figure out. So Jordan Poole comes up because the Warriors obviously are playing the Wizards tomorrow, and the Warriors are 20-20, and everybody wants to make a trade, and they see young Jordan Poole ascending and averaging career highs in a plethora of categories. However, the Wizards have won 6 games. So I'm trying to figure out how they got on that conversation with Willard.
Well, it's just about
Willard,
the Jordan
Gibbs,
Poole
and
return. And I feel like Jordan Poole's name has probably come up more in the last month than the last 2 years. And I think it's more like as we do this big study on the Golden State Warriors and we think about where they're at and where it went wrong and woulda, coulda, shoulda. And this is what happens when a dynasty starts to, like, the embers are burning out of the fire. We go back in time and we're like, where could it have kept going? And I think that the Jordan Poole thing is an interesting point in time. And I've thought about it long and hard. And I'm thinking to myself, there will always be a segment of fans that liked Jordan Poole. There was a segment of fans that I think turned on Jordan Poole because of the play. There's a segment of fans that sided with Draymond Green for X, Y, and Z reasons, thinking that the team was divided. And then I think there's a lot of people that have had a change of heart, not because they're watching Jordan Poole with a fine-tooth comb in Washington. I bet a lot of people haven't even watched a game of Jordan Poole's since he's been a Washington Wizard. But it's more like the woulda, coulda, shoulda of, man, that trade now a couple years removed, like, it wasn't a good trade. And I think a lot of people are like taking things back. Like, you know what?
Yeah, that's what we do in sports.
Exactly.
We could say, in hindsight, we could say we're flipping and flopping because I remember in real time what was going on with Jordan Poole, and nobody was missing Jordan Poole last year. But as we look to this matchup coming up with the Wizards and the Warriors, are the Warriors in a better spot without Jordan Poole, or are they in a better spot with Jordan Poole? What does your finances look like? I think in another year, we could really decide whether or not this deal worked out for the Golden State Warriors because of the financial flexibility by letting Chris Paul walk, saying, you know what, we're going to let him walk. We're not going to try to make a trade at the deadline or whatnot. You get your finances in order at least to where you're not paying a boatload of money, a luxury tax, and CB, all that stuff. So I'm not going to play the revisionist history game yet because I know what it was like in real time, just like with Klay Thompson. I understand what it was like in real time. Sure, you could say, I'd rather have Jordan Poole on his team than Draymond Green. But I'll throw the same question you've thrown at me all week about Klay Thompson. Is this team that much better with Klay Thompson? Is this team right now that much better with Jordan Poole on it than not having Jordan Poole on it?
It's funny that you asked that question directly because I was thinking about that walking past Union Square, and I'm like, all right, let's be real here. How much better? Everything's the same, but Jordan Poole's on the team. How much better are they? I actually think they're a little better. Now, by a little, a couple of games. I think that they're a couple of games better at minimum. I don't think it's changing the overall trajectory and frustration of where everyone's at. They probably don't make the Dennis Schroeder trade.
Right.
You know, maybe Pajemski is not on this team for X, Y, and Z reasons. Maybe. I don't know. I do think he takes a little bit of the load off of Steph Curry. I do believe that he provides more of the scoring punch that they clearly have needed at times. Was he the smartest IQ half-court player to end games? No. So I don't want to sit here and say they're 10 games better with Jordan Poole. I think that's reckless. I think some of their bigger issues are still their bigger issues.
Right. I don't think they're much better with Jordan Poole than without him. Honestly, it just looks different. It looks different.
But what about the symbolism?
Right,
Forget the record. What about the symbolism of the young guys not being good enough to keep up with the old guys, as in getting rid of them?
Look, let's not be silly here. Because I miss Jordan Poole too, but let's not be silly. Jordan Poole's on this roster right now. The Warriors are 20-20. The tenor of the conversation is, you've invested in Jordan Poole, got rid of a trusted veteran in Draymond Green.
or
you gave Jordan Poole $30+ million. He's not helping you win. Get this guy off my team, blah, blah. You know the tenor of the conversation.
Well, the day he was traded, the overall sentiment that again, this is just my feeling, was get this guy off my team.
Exactly.
That's what I felt. But I would be very interested to hear from Warrior fans today, like, how do you feel today? Do you miss him? Do you still root for him? Is he the one that got away? Because I think for some people he is.
Is he the guy who got away for you?
I just think what he represents is the lost hope of a young player who was ascending as we were chasing excellence, and I felt like he was an easy scapegoat. And in retrospect, I feel really, really bad for the guy. And I felt bad for him in real time, but I feel worse now. And your overall point about like, is the team that much better than where they are? Probably not. But that to me is more of an indication on where the high-priced best players on this team were in their career versus where he's at in his career. But I do believe he'd be a helpful player and a good player and a useful player.
At 888-957-9570, how do you feel about those sentiments about Jordan Poole as the Warriors will hit the court tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. tip at Chase Center tomorrow when the Warriors host the Wizards. They play 8 of their next 9 at home at Chase Center. A great opportunity to stack some wins. And shout out to those watching on YouTube. Brought to you by Golden State, serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit GoldenStateLumber.com. Festus Ezeli will join us at 8:30 on the River Islands guest line. Darren Ruzanowski to talk some Sharks at 9:20. And, of course, all guests on 95.7 The Game appear on the River Islands guest line. Isn't it time for you to discover the islands, River Islands, and Lathrop? Jordan Poole is definitely a polarizing player. I'm not sure how much he resonated considering how long he was here. He was here for 4 years, right? 4 years we got Jordan Poole. Drafted him when he was a baby. He left. Obviously, there were some ill feelings towards him. There's some ill feelings towards Draymond when he left. And they made the move because it was obvious that locker room was not going to be able to coexist with both of them in the same locker room, walking around in the same space. Now, here we are a year and a half later. Jordan Poole's Wizards they're not 6-31, folks. They're 6-33.
They're not good.
They're 6-33. And they're getting blown out in every single game. They're not even competitive. And so when you have a player like Jordan Poole, you say, well, what is he doing to impact winning? Well, it's not all him, right? It kind of shows that you need a lot of talent on the basketball team, and they have a lot of young players in Bilal Coulibaly. They got some veterans in Valanciunas and Kyle Kuzma, but they got a lot of youngsters on this team. A lot of youngsters. So I don't know if Jordan Poole's the one that got away. But, boy, without that incident, I'm very curious to know where that team lands that second season or that next season after the championship when they lost to the L.A. Lakers in the second round of the playoffs. Jordan Poole is just a shell of himself. Just a shell of himself. So I don't know how much the Warriors are winning with and without Jordan Poole. The same thing with Klay Thompson or whatnot. But it's obvious right now that the roster, as currently constructed, is not good enough to compete for a championship, and they may not be good enough to finish top 6 in the Western Conference. So that is an issue here. You just wonder, with a quicker athletic guard like Jordan Poole, would it translate to more wins? Would it translate to more losses? How does it look? It's hard to say, really. It's hard.
Like in our life, for the Warriors, you think Chris Webber is the biggest, like, one that got away?
No doubt. In my lifetime, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, no doubt.
It's funny, like, because he was awesome year one, right? Everyone knows awesome year one. Goes to the Washington, at the time they were called the Bullets. They weren't very good. They were like a complete teardown rebuild. I think they won like 25 games or something like that his first year. And then they slowly got better, but they never really reached the zenith of what you thought they might become, right? Mm-hmm. And he ends up getting traded, and really his best years are with the Sacramento Kings, right? Mm-hmm. I don't remember exactly how he was viewed league-wide at that time. He was such a high-profile player coming out playing for the Fab Five. It felt like he was a sexier, definitely viewed league-wide as a more winning player than what Jordan Poole is viewed currently.
I don't even think it's close.
You know, yeah, right?
I don't even think it's close.
Even though the team didn't necessarily have team success. You get where I'm going?
Weber, as a rookie, was all of a sudden thrust into this category with the top power forwards in the game. Karl Malone, Charles Barkley. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, he was starting to get the dunk on Barkley, the commercial, Nike. I mean, it's not even close. Like, Chris Webber was in a completely different stratosphere than Jordan Poole.
I would agree. But when you look at it, how many years do you think it took Warrior fans to get over the Webber thing?
Well, it took a long time because they didn't make the playoffs for a long time. So each year they didn't make the playoffs, every Warrior fan walking around these streets in the Bay Area would say, it's the Webber curse. Ever since they got rid of Webber, we haven't done anything.
Go back in that time. We were younger. I think it was about 12 years old when he got traded. Were you bitter toward him, Nelly, mad at the organization?
Organization.
Okay.
Organization.
Did you root for him in Washington?
I rooted for his success.
Yeah.
I rooted for Webber.
I used to collect his cards.
But I was also a Webber fan, though.
Yes, me too.
So it's a little different for me coming out of Michigan.
Yeah.
I was a Webber fan.
Yeah.
So it's a little different.
What about with the Kings?
Yeah, I rooted for Webber.
See, I
rooted for Webber.
I didn't really root for him with the Kings. I just didn't like the Kings.
I rooted for Webber. And another player they had was Mike Bibby. I loved Mike Bibby coming out of Arizona. Loved Mike Bibby on those 97 Wildcats.
Do you think the majority of Warrior fans rooted for him when he was with the Kings?
I'm not sure. It's possible, but I'm not sure.
Do you think Warrior fans root for Jordan Poole's success now, just in general?
I would think so. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
But it's obvious that.
But I don't have ill will, and I probably was a bigger Poole homer at the beginning because I found the guy intoxicating. Yes, he wasn't a complete player. No one thinks that he's on the Steph Curry level. I just thought he was a lot of fun, and I thought he was the perfect, what I would call that sip of water that this dehydrated team needed to get themselves up again. He was a useful player, whether he was a starter, a sixth man, whatever. I thought he was a fun, ascending young player that could help be that youthful invigoration that the old guys desperately needed.
510 with an interesting one. Weber left. Warriors drafted Vince Carter, traded for Jameson. That was another gut punch. That was a gut punch.
The Spreewell situation, and then him going right to the finals. It was a combination of things.
Let's go to Oriole Cookie in Oakland. Oriole Cookie, what's happening?
Hey, what up, guys? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
You guys, let's remember that Poole was one of ours, man. We drafted him. You guys got to remember that he had a tough up and coming from the G League, up and down all the time. And then when he finally stuck, man, we were with him. We were riding for him. So I still do root for him. Going back to the Hawaiian Punch, shout out Guru. I think we got rid of the wrong guy. And I think if we would have kept Poole and got rid of Draymond, that would have spearheaded Kuminga coming in faster to the lineup. I think we would have been fine. I think we still had Wiseman at that time. I think Wiseman still would have been with us. I think the team would have been cool with him, man. I still root for him, like I said, and he's on my fantasy team, bro. That's how much it is.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's it? Gone just like that?
And like that, he's gone.
Like that.
Yeah, no Jordan Poole.
Ended the call abruptly. Got to throw me off, right?
There ain't nothing you can do about it.
Ain't nothing I can do about it. Ain't nothing I can do about it.
When they do like a team reunion in 2032, the 10-year reunion of the 2022 championship, I don't know, maybe he's still playing in the league. I would assume that he is, but there's no guarantees. I mean, how's he viewed?
I don't know. 888-957-9570 is the number. I don't know if he's the one that got away. I'm interested to hear from Warrior fans because it's been a while on Jordan Poole. That's Warriors at 20-20. would it translate into winning? He's having a nice season. There's no doubt about that. He's having a very nice season. At the same time, can you have a nice season on a team that's 6-33?
No.
Like that's the issue.
But
Would
we've
anybody
also
trade for
learned
him?
that Steph Curry's probably the greatest player, ever or whatever. And
You need talent around you to win.
and they're struggling
Right.
to get
You need talent around you to win. There's no doubt. That's an indictment on him. He's got to do his job. You control how you
Exactly.
play.
Yeah.
Not the rest of your guys. I'm just interested. I guess I'm just interested to hear the context between Willard, Grandy, and Dibbs on Jordan Poole. Like, I didn't hear it, so I don't know what the
They
what
were
the
just
center of the
discussing
conversation.
all the stuff
So
that we're discussing right now.
I remember Willard last season said he's not giving Jordan Poole a steady ovation, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know where that vigor came from when it came towards Jordan Poole. Very interesting, though. It is very interesting. I mean,
I will say this for me, and I know you said we got to find out about flexibility. But today, if you look at your bank account or whatever today, they're in the negative on that trade. If that trade was, you're in the negative. Now, maybe down the road, it appreciates and it ends up netting them something because of that flexibility. But as of today, trading a 23-year-old at the time who was making $28 million for 40-year-old Chris Paul, and then that contract expired, and you had to staple a first-round pick to it in 2030, it ended up being a horrific trade.
Trades are hard.
No, that was
not a good trade. Not a good trade right now, but we'll see what it looks like. As of now, it's not the best trade in the world, but how much better are they with JP? How much better would that locker room have been? Did they get rid of the wrong guy? I don't know, but the Warriors right now, they're 20-20. They got to get rolling here.